The hospital room was a cold cage of beeps and sterile light, where Joe Smith, a millionaire tech titan, lay motionless. His ebony skin glistened under the harsh fluorescence, but his eyes stayed shut, his breath a mechanical rhythm. For 3 weeks, he'd been comatose at St. Augustine's Medical Center, his silence a deafening void. Doctors whispered in confusion, their charts heavy with unanswered questions. His family, a fractured mosaic of greed and regret, huddled in the waiting room, their voices slicing through the air like knives. Joe wasn't just rich, he was a legend. His AI empire, Smith Innovations, a monument to his genius. But success had carved a lonely path. A wife, Celeste, who loved his wealth more than his soul. A daughter, Kayla, estranged by his absence. A sister, Vivian, hungry for power. His collapse at a board meeting had sparked chaos. Who would claim his throne? Who deserved his heart? Dr. Elena Carter, the lead neurologist, stood over him, her face etched with worry. No response, she told Nurse Patricia Jones, whose gentle hands adjusted Joe's fore. Patricia's eyes lingered on his serene face, her heart heavy with an unspoken intuition. "You're still in there, aren't you?" she murmured, her voice trembling with hope. She didn't know Joe was awake, his mind a storm of secrets, faking his coma to unmask the truth about those around him. In the waiting room, Vivian's voice cut like glass. "Kayla, you're too young to handle his estate." Kayla, 22, her eyes red with unshed tears, snapped back. "I'm here for Dad, not your games." The air crackled with their pain, a family unraveling. Joe heard every word, his heart splintering. He'd built an empire but lost his soul. Now, he was a ghost, watching his world fracture. As Patricia leaned close to check his pulse, Joe's finger twitched, a desperate signal. Her gasp echoed. Had she imagined it, or was he reaching out from the void? Patricia's breath caught, her fingers trembling over Joe's wrist. That twitch, it was real, a flicker of life in the stillness. She glanced at the monitors, their steady beeps mocking her racing heart. "Mr. Smith?" she whispered, her voice cracking with fear and hope. No answer, but her soul screamed he was there, listening, trapped. Outside, the family's war raged. Vivian, her eyes cold as steel, cornered Celeste. "You've milked his fortune long enough," she spat. Celeste, draped in silk, laughed bitterly. "And you're just waiting for his grave to claim yours." Kayla fled the room, tears streaming, her heart a raw wound. "I just want my dad," she sobbed. Unaware, Patricia watched, her own eyes glistening with shared pain. Patricia carried her own scars. Raised in poverty, she'd fought for her nursing degree, driven by her father's death in a neglected hospital bed. Joe's case was personal, a chance to save someone, to matter. Alone that night, she sat by his bed, her voice a trembling confession. "I don't know if you hear me, but I won't let you fade. You're not alone." Her words were a lifeline, raw and unguarded. Joe, awake behind his silent mask, felt her words pierce his heart. His coma was a calculated ruse to expose his family's true colors, but Patricia's kindness was a blade, cutting through his cynicism. Guilt churned in him. He was deceiving her, too. Her voice was the first warmth he'd felt in years, and it terrified him. As Patricia turned to leave, Joe's hand clamped onto hers, a desperate grip. Her scream shattered the silence, echoing down the hall. Patricia's scream brought Dr. Carter sprinting. "What's wrong?" she demanded, her eyes darting to Joe's still form. "He grabbed me," Patricia stammered, her voice shaking with shock. Carter checked the monitors, her skepticism a wall. "Reflex, maybe," she said, but doubt crept into her tone. She ordered tests, her mind racing. Was Joe waking or hiding? In a silent prison, Joe's heart pounded. His plan, to fake a coma and unmask his family's greed, was unraveling. Vivian's ruthless ambition, Celeste's icy detachment, Kayla's broken pleas, they confirmed his fears. But Patricia's voice, raw with care, was a mirror to his shame. He'd built walls of wealth, shutting out love. Her kindness made him question everything. The family stormed in, drawn by the commotion. Celeste's voice trembled with hope and dread. Is he awake? Vivian's eyes narrowed, predatory. If he is, we need to secure the company. Kayla, tears streaming, whispered, Dad, please just come back. Joe's chest ached, each word a dagger. He wanted to speak, to hold Kayla, but his deception held him captive. Patricia stayed late, her instincts screaming. The charts didn't lie. Joe's vitals were too perfect, his reflexes too deliberate. She confided in Nurse Malik, her voice low. What if he's faking it? Malik laughed, but her words lingered. Alone, she leaned close to Joe. If you hear me, blink twice. Please, I need to know. Joe's eyelids fluttered, once, twice. Patricia's heart stopped, her world tilting as his eyes locked onto hers, alive with secrets. Patricia stumbled back, her breath ragged. Joe's blinks were a confession, a crack in his facade. You're awake, she whispered, her voice breaking with betrayal and awe. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but his eyes held a plea. Trust me. Her heart warred between loyalty and hurt. The hospital buzzed with chaos. Vivian, sensing weakness, rallied the board, her voice dripping venom. I'm taking control, she declared. Celeste countered, I'm his wife. It's my right. Their words were a battlefield, and Kayla was collateral damage. She fled to Joe's room, collapsing by his bed. Dad, I need you, she sobbed, her voice raw. Joe's heart shattered. He'd pushed her away, and now her pain was his punishment. Patricia's own wounds reopened. Her father's death had left her hollow, his final moments ignored by overworked staff. She'd vowed to be different, to see her patients. Now, Joe's deception stung like a betrayal. Yet, she couldn't abandon him. Why are you doing this? She whispered, tears falling. I trusted you. Joe's mind screamed to explain. His family's greed had driven him to this. Vivian's schemes, Celeste's indifference, Kayla's absence. But Patricia's tears were a new wound. He squeezed her hand, a silent apology, his heart begging her to stay. A shadow moved outside the door. Malik, eavesdropping, heard everything. His eyes widened. Would he expose them? Malik slipped away, his heart pounding. Patricia's words echoed. Joe was awake, faking it. Loyalty to his friend clashed with duty. He approached Dr. Carter, his voice trembling. What if someone thought Joe wasn't in a coma? Carter's eyes sharpened. Who said that? Malik hesitated, guilt choking him. He betrayed Patricia. Joe felt the walls closing in. Patricia's tears had cracked his resolve, her story of loss mirroring his own buried pain. He'd grown up poor, fighting for every scrap, only to lose himself in wealth. Now, her raw honesty was a lifeline, but Malik's eavesdropping was a threat. He couldn't keep this up much longer. Vivian's claws tightened. She bribed an orderly, accessing Joe's records. His vitals are too stable, she muttered, her mind racing. She smelled a lie, and it fueled her hunger. She confronted Kayla in the cafeteria, her voice venomous. You're too weak to fight for his legacy. Kayla's eyes blazed through tears. It's not about money, it's about love. Their screams drew stares, a family imploding. Patricia tested Joe again, her voice a desperate plea. Move a finger if you trust me. His finger twitched, and her heart soared, then sank. You're breaking us, she whispered, tears streaming. Joe's grip tightened, a silent vow to make it right. Dr. Carter burst in, her face grim. Patricia, we need to talk. Now. Carter's voice was a blade. Malik told me something's off, she said, her eyes boring into Patricia. What do you know? Patricia's heart raced, but she held firm. Nothing, she lied, her voice shaking. Carter didn't believe her, but backed off, ordering more tests. Patricia felt the weight of Joe's secret crushing her. Joe's mind was a battlefield. Patricia's loyalty was a gift he didn't deserve, her pain a mirror to his failures. Vivian's schemes, Celeste's coldness, Kayla's tears, they were his doing. He built an empire but left his family in ruins. Patricia's whispered stories, her father's death, her mother's sacrifice, tore at him. He wanted to end the lie, but fear chained him. Kayla confronted Celeste, her voice raw. You never loved him, did you? Celeste's mask cracked, her eyes glistening. I tried, she whispered, but he was always gone. Kayla's heart broke, but her resolve hardened. She'd fight for her father, Coma or not. Vivian's investigator found inconsistencies in Joe's tests. He's awake, she hissed, plotting to confront him. She slipped into his room, recorder hidden. Patricia caught her, eyes blazing. Get out, she snapped, her voice trembling with protective fury. Vivian smirked, pressing record. You can't hide him forever, she said, as Joe's hand twitched violently. Vivian's recorder hummed, a ticking bomb. Patricia lunged, knocking it from her hand. You don't get to use him, she cried, tears streaming. Vivian's eyes flashed with rage. He's my brother. I'll protect what's mine. She stormed out, vowing revenge. Joe's heart thundered. Patricia's defense was a fire, burning away his doubts. He opened his eyes, his voice a hoarse whisper. Patricia, I'm awake. Her gasp was a sob, relief and betrayal colliding. Why? She demanded, her voice breaking. Joe confessed, his plan to test his family, to see who loved him. I was lost, he said, tears falling. You found me. Patricia's heart ached. She'd poured her soul into him, only to learn it was a game. Yet his tears were real, his pain a mirror to hers. You hurt us, she whispered, but stayed by his side. Kayla entered, her face crumpling. Dad! Joe reached for her, his voice cracking. I'm so sorry, baby. The hospital buzzed with whispers. Vivian's investigator dug deeper, uncovering Joe's past, a bribe that secured his empire. She planned to expose him, her heart cold with vengeance. Patricia, torn, whispered to Joe, You have to end this. Now, as Joe nodded, Celeste appeared, her eyes wide with fear. They know you're awake, she said, and they're coming for you. Celeste's words hung like a guillotine. Joe sat up, his eyes burning with resolve. Let them come, he said, his voice raw. Patricia's heart raced. She admired his courage, but feared the fallout. Kayla clung to his hand, her tears a silent plea. Don't leave me again, she whispered. Vivian's investigator leaked the bribe story to the press. Headlines screamed betrayal, and Joe's empire trembled. The board demanded answers, but Joe refused to hide. He called Kayla and Patricia to his side. I need you both, he said, his voice breaking. Patricia hesitated, her trust fragile, but nodded. Kayla's embrace was a lifeline. Patricia shared her pain, her voice trembling. My dad died alone in a place like this. I stayed for you, Joe, but you lied. Her words cut him, but he held her gaze. You're my second chance, he said, tears streaming. Their bond, forged in pain, was unbreakable. Vivian confronted Joe, recorder in hand. You're a fraud, she spat. Joe stood, his voice steady. I'm done hiding. You want my money? Take it, but you'll never have my heart. Vivian flinched, her mask cracking. A lawyer burst in, holding a new will. This changes everything, he said, as Vivian's face paled. The lawyer's document was a bomb. Joe took it, his hands trembling with purpose. This isn't about money, he said, his voice thick with emotion. It's about love. He revealed his new will. His fortune would fund community programs, inspired by Patricia's story. Kayla would lead them, a chance to heal their bond. Vivian and Celeste gasped, their greed exposed. Kayla's eyes shone with pride and pain. You believe in me, she whispered. Joe pulled her close, tears falling. Always. Celeste, silent, walked out, her heart a tangle of regret. Vivian vowed to fight, but her power was crumbling. Patricia's heart warred. Joe's trust was a gift, but his deception lingered. You used me, she said, her voice breaking. Joe nodded, his eyes wet. But you saved me. He offered her a role in his foundation, but she hesitated, tears streaming. I need to heal, she said. The hospital was a circus, reporters swarming. Joe refused interviews, focusing on Kayla. They talked for hours, their laughter a fragile bridge over years of pain. Patricia watched, her heart aching but hopeful. A text lit up Patricia's phone. You're in too deep. Meet me. It was Malik, and his tone was desperate. Patricia met Malik in the hospital garden, her heart pounding. What's wrong? She asked, her voice trembling. Malik's eyes were haunted. Vivian suing Joe for fraud. She's got proof, recordings, logs. Patricia's stomach dropped. She protected Joe, but now her loyalty was a trap. Joe faced his board, his voice raw. I'm back, and I'm changing everything. Whispers of his deception spread, some awed, others enraged. Kayla stood by him, her eyes fierce. He's my dad, she said, tears falling. Joe's heart swelled, but Vivian's threat loomed. Patricia confronted Joe, her voice breaking. Vivian knows. You have to stop her. Joe's face darkened, but his eyes burned with resolve. I'll face her, he said, his voice trembling. Patricia reached out to a journalist friend, desperate to counter Vivian's narrative. Vivian met her investigator, her heart cold. Joe thinks he's won, she said. I have one last secret to bury him. A document from Joe's past, a scandal that could destroy him. Patricia's journalist called, panicked. Vivian's got proof Joe bribed a doctor. It's going public tomorrow. Patricia showed Joe the journalist's warning, her hands shaking. His face crumpled. It's true, he confessed, his voice a broken whisper. Years ago, he'd bribed a doctor to sabotage a rival, a sin that fueled his Coma plan. I hated who I'd become, he said, tears streaming. Kayla overheard, her heart shattering. You lied again, she sobbed, pulling away. Patricia stepped in, her voice trembling. He's trying, Kayla. He's human. Kayla nodded, tears falling, but the pain lingered. Joe vowed to confess, no matter the cost. Vivian's story hit the press, and Joe's empire shook. Stocks crashed, but he refused to hide. He called a press conference, Patricia by his side. You don't have to do this alone, she said, her eyes wet. Joe squeezed her hand, his heart raw. Celeste returned, her voice soft. I was wrong, she said, tears falling. Let's try again. Joe's heart ached, torn between hope and doubt. As Joe prepared to speak, Vivian appeared on a live broadcast, holding a document. This will destroy him, she said, her eyes gleaming. Joe faced the cameras, his voice trembling but strong. I faked my coma, he confessed, tears streaming. I bribed a doctor years ago. I lost myself, but I'm here to make it right. The crowd gasped, then fell silent, moved by his raw honesty. Patricia's heart swelled, her tears falling. Vivian's broadcast aired, detailing the bribe, but Joe's confession stole her thunder. The public rallied, inspired by his vulnerability. Kayla joined him, her voice breaking. I love you, Dad. The crowd roared, a tide of redemption. Celeste approached, her eyes wet. I'm here, she whispered. Joe nodded, hope flickering. Vivian, defeated, retreated, her heart cold but cracking. Patricia's role came to light, and Joe praised her. She showed me what love means, he said, his voice thick. Joe was discharged, his heart lighter. He left with Kayla, their bond a beacon. Patricia stayed, reflecting on her journey, her heart torn but full. A letter arrived for Patricia and signed. You're part of this now. Be careful. Patricia clutched the letter, her heart racing. She showed it to Joe, who vowed to protect her. You're my family, he said, his voice breaking. They traced the threat to Vivian's former employee, neutralizing it. But the fear lingered, a reminder of trust's fragility. Joe's foundation flourished, healing communities. He and Kayla laughed together, rebuilding their love. Celeste, changed by his honesty, became his partner, their marriage a work in progress. Patricia led the scholarship program, her heart full but scarred. Joe visited Patricia's mother, tears in his eyes. Your daughter saved my soul, he said. Her mother's embrace was a balm, her pride radiant. Patricia watched, her heart swelling, but the letter's shadow lingered. Joe stood on his balcony, the sunset warming his face. This is enough, he whispered, Kayla and Patricia by his side. At a gala, Patricia found another letter in her purse. We're not done, it read, her heart stopping. Patricia's hands shook as she read the letter. Joe pulled her close, his voice fierce. No one hurts you, he said, tears in his eyes. They traced the threat to a disgruntled board member, stopping it for good. Patricia's fear eased, replaced by resolve. She was stronger than her scars. The foundation grew, transforming lives. Kayla shone, her leadership a gift. Celeste and Joe rebuilt, their love fragile but real. Patricia's scholarship program honored her father, a legacy of care. Joe spoke at the gala, his voice raw. I was blind, but love opened my eyes. Patricia met his gaze, her heart full. She trusted him, and he trusted her. They weren't just allies, they were family. The threats were gone, but their bond was eternal. As the gala ended, Kayla handed Joe a letter from Patricia's mother. "Read it," she said, tears streaming. Joe opened the letter, his hands trembling. Patricia's mother wrote of her pride, her daughter's courage, and Joe's redemption. "You've given her purpose," she wrote. Joe wept, pulling Patricia into a hug. "You saved me," he said, his voice breaking. Kayla and Celeste joined, their family whole. The foundation became a beacon, healing communities. Joe and Kayla laughed daily, their bond unbreakable. Celeste's love grew, rooted in honesty. Patricia led with fire, her scholarships changing lives. The hospital, once a place of pain, was now a symbol of hope. Joe stood on his balcony, the sunset a promise. "This is life," he said, his heart full. Patricia smiled, her scars a badge of strength. They'd faced lies, fear, and loss, but love had won. Moral lesson here is that true wealth is love, not money. Deception wounds, but honesty heals. Empathy and presence are the roots of connection. Joe's journey shows that redemption is possible when we choose vulnerability over pride. Wow, what a ride, right? Joe's story hit me hard. Have you ever felt lost in success, craving real connection? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. If this moved you, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories that tug at your heart. Love, not wealth, makes us whole. Let's keep this vibe going. See you next time.